All right, we should be live right now. All right. Good morning, good morning, good morning. All right. We are live, we are live. Let's go. All right, let's get into it. Market's about to open here. Let's see what we get. We got news today at 10 o'clock, so high impact news. We got PMI. So we're gonna wait till the news comes out. But we're gonna go over like what we see here in the market right now. Based on like what we're getting, let's go to the higher time frame. We got the weekly time frame here. Do top-down analysis based on what we're seeing. So we had this fair value gap, we traded up, and then we continued back down into this fair value gap, continued back up to this high, and we have this swing high that's sitting up above here on NQ. And I want to see what happens with price once we get up into that area. So looking at this area up within there, that could be a potential point where we could reach to if we want to keep going bullish, or if we want to just keep rejecting this internal high here and then pull back down into this range before going higher, or if we keep breaking lower. But as of now, what are we seeing? We're seeing the swing low traded down into this discount within this fair value gap, and we shift up into this range, hit this fair value gap, and then trade it back up to this short-term high. Well, yeah, I'd say short-term high because long-term high is up here. So now we're up above this high, and it's kind of like an iffy spot. Like, do we continue to trade off this fair value gap up to this high, or do we just consolidate because we took this internal high, and do we get a deeper retracement before we get the buy back up into here, if that's possible? So I wouldn't say it's no man's land. We really got to wait for more confirmation based on this 1 hour. Do we want to get into this deeper discount here, down below all these relative equal lows, or do we just continue to shift up and get bullish candles and use breakers to continue back up towards this high? Personally, I'd like to see a short down into this. I'd say that's higher probability, but we got to wait for more information, obviously. So we could put all my drawings back on. I'm going to measure this entire range from the low to the high here. And if we get a discount, it would be down around here. I'd like to see the 50% or lower. So I'd like to see price trade down into here. Maybe we get something like this with the news, and then we just trade down and in. We could trade lower back down into here, and then possibly lower into this range. That's possible. Or if we sweep the lows here and we have more SMT, maybe we even take this low. We have SMT with ES. Maybe we get an inversion, and then we take the buy up to this high. Got relative equal highs here now, and then possibly even up into these highs. So that's possible as well. So I want to keep paying attention to what we really get here with the news, and then go from there. But as of right now, we go down to the 15-minute. What do we see? We had on Friday, price traded up, came back down, and then we consolidated. Okay, through Sunday afternoon, and then we ended up coming up higher, coming down, taking out these internal lows. Okay, creating these highs up here. So engineered these highs here in London, and then we shifted up, and when we shifted up, we created an inversion fair value gap, and then we ended up trading up to this high, pulled back down these relative equal lows, and then we came up and smacked these equal highs, and then we had SMT at these highs because I looked earlier. I just know that they're there. SMT at the highs, and then we traded down, and then after we took out these lows, we shifted back up, and now let's see what we're going to get within here. But after these highs were taken and the SMT was here, we hit this fair value gap, it was kind of obvious that we were going to trade down below this low and down into this low and potentially this low here, but that would need to be determined by time and price and the narrative. So as of right now, I'm just sitting on my hands waiting for the news, but that's kind of like what I've seen. There was the setup that was a short setup within here. So once we had, it was based on a 3-minute inversion. If it loads here real quick. If it wants to load for me. Maybe it'll load here. Yeah, here we go. So based on the 3-minute inversion, we came up, we took out this high here. So higher high, I mean a lower high here. Okay. And then once we had this 3-minute fair value gap inversion closure right here, that was basically a green light to get in for the short. And notice how we come up on this candle, we came up above these relative equal highs. Okay. But we never did here. We made a lower high here. So that's still more green light for price to come down below this low. So that'd be break even. Move to stops to break even after that. And then we're targeting, like I said, this low and then potentially lower down within here. But notice how we just hit this low here and then we ended up shifting up higher, creating that buy that we had within here. As you can tell, we ended up shifting up higher and then trading it back up above this high, possibly this high, and possibly even this high here. But we're just going to continue to wait. I'm not trying to gamble my account away in something like this. You don't need to take everything. It's really observing what we're getting here in the market. Let's just see. Be right back. So notice how, like, before the news, we're getting this engineered liquidity up above this high. So I want to watch to see if this liquidity wants to stay up above here, and if we continue to trade down lower with the news, and then after the news, get some SMT and possibly shift higher. If I was to short this, my plan says liquidity, and then hit a higher time frame PD array, which would be this fair value gap again, and then getting in sync with the order flow, which would be more SMT, breaker structures, fair value gaps, inversions to take it down lower towards the draw on liquidity. But we don't have that. So we never hit liquidity, so that's not part of the plan to take a short within this. If it does short down, I have to be okay with missing out on this trade and not taking anything. So, gotta stick to the rules, you know. Stick to the higher time frame. What are we getting? That's always the question. What are we getting here in price? Can't forget we got these relative equal highs that are up here still. Same with ES. We got relative equal highs right here. So a lot of buy side up there. So I want to pay attention. Do we get SMT at these lows? Do we get a nice shift to get back up above these relative equal highs that are sitting up there? And I would prefer to see something like that. Notice how we're trading into a deep discount here on YM as well. So we're trading down, and we're trading up here on NQ. So that's a bullish signature for price to continue to keep moving up, let's say. Keep paying attention to price. Do we get a lower low here, or do we not? If we do get that lower low, I just want to pay attention to what we're getting here. So we get that lower low made. Let's say we take out this low and we tap into this fair value gap again. I want to look for an inversion fair value gap. I know let's hit this fair value gap here. We got this 1 minute order block. Look like we're coming for this low. But like I said, that's not part of my plan, even though there is liquidity here, but it needs to take out the bigger liquidity. I am in favor of this short right now, but not taking that. I'd rather wait. We do have an end log here. Wow. The new week opening gap that's over here. So we're coming right back down into it. So let's see if that wants to act as like a resistance or whatever. If we break down below it or not. Just want to keep paying attention here. Notice how we have no wicks in these candles as well. In this 15 minute, also this 5 minute. So part of me just keeps thinking that we are going to keep moving higher. But obviously a lot more information is needed. You wait till after the news. I'm just wondering, like, if this is the Judas swing down here. Not this fake move up, but this fake move down. This is the Judas before the news. Because you got all these engineered highs up here. But I also don't want to be married to the highs. Like, if it wants to keep falling down, then let it. You know, if this 5 minute inverses, like, I really want to pay attention. We're probably more likely to keep going down if this 5 minute inverse is here. So the overall narrative of this price action is that we hit this high that's up here, and now we're just consolidating in this range. And the question is, do we want to pull back down farther into this range that's down here? But you can look at ES. ES didn't pull all the way down, but it took out a lower low, and we got relative equal highs that are still sitting up within here. Because if you look at this range now, we never fully retraced the 50% up into this range either. So we're sitting in this area. We're overall bullish, so we've got to keep that in mind. Took out a high, we took out a low. So this could actually just consolidate this AM session. Like, I'm saying that now because it's possible, because we took out a high and a low, but I do like all these relative equal highs that are up there. But I do need to see a low taken first if I'm going to go long. And preferably I like to go long on NQ. So I want to pay attention here to NQ here. Another 15 minutes for the news to come out. And if trade doesn't set up today, that's fine. I don't need to take anything. It's only if an opportunity presents itself, I'll take something. Let's go. About to get a macro that's starting. I'm paying attention that this low that we were looking at earlier, down within here, it's like that we're going to keep trading down to hit this low. Let's pay attention though. Notice how we're getting a lower low here, but a higher low here. So that's actually a pretty good sign that if we do reach up, we're in this order block and the rejection block now too. So I want to pay attention to that area. Notice how we're making higher lows here, but still lower low there. I'm not trading anything before the news. I'm just going to keep observing this price action. Just because there could be a setup forming. I don't want to force anything. Even though I'm still not seeing any inversion setup, not even on a 30-second. So I still just want to pay attention to what we're getting here in the higher time frame. So higher time frame, we do have this low that's in sight. It's looking like we're going to reach towards that low at some point. So I just want to pay attention to that. We have these relative equal lows here, so I want to pay attention to that as well. So I'm looking at this 1 minute inversion now. There's not really a 30-second inversion that I'm too comfortable with. There's not one at all. There's a 15-second inversion. If anything's gonna play out, it's gonna be out this 15-second yet, just like that. So obviously I'm not trading this 15-second. That's too like quick of a move. But as you could tell, we shifted up above that 15-second here. So I just wasn't paying attention to it like right before the news, but notice how the macro started here. Well, right before the macro at 9:49, we started trading down. Macro started at the 50, and then we ended up shifting up into this fair value gap. It's like, now what do we want to do in this fair value gap? Do we want to keep sending up, or do we want to pull back down and go lower? So it's just a pretty simple trading plan. There's nothing really too crazy about this. You know, shifted above that 15-second. It gave us a good RR, you know, let's say not even 20-point risk. So after that trade, after this candle closed, let's say right here, your risk down below this low. Okay. And you're going to this high. Overall, so far, you would have been a little less than 1.4 to 1. It's not terrible. A 1-to-1 can do it. Still, like, if you're risking 400, you're making 400 here on a 1-to-1. So you have 2 NQ contracts on that. That's possible, but I don't trade the 15-second like that before the news. It's just good to observe and watch as price is forming these patterns, you know. So we made this lower low. We came up. We shifted. Then we continued to make SMT at these lows. So as soon as this candle closed here, it was green light for price to keep moving up higher. So entering here, being a little bit of drawdown. 3.5, about a little less than 4 points. 3 3/4. So that's a nice little move there. That's a good little 15-second tape read. It could keep ripping up, but it could also just pull back down with the news that we have here. So I'm actually going to record this in my inversion model. 2, 5, was it PMI today? PMI news 950 macro. Outcome, just observe this one here. Just took out the low, shifted up. So, model, 15-second inversion. So yeah, there we go. That's not bad. Not bad at all. And it's looking like we're going to continue higher too. Yeah, there we go. There we go. About to hit our 20 points. Just hit the 20 points on this trade here. This is the pre-news. And we're probably going to keep ripping up on through, to be honest. So yeah, we're about to get our news out in a little bit. Let's see if we want to go for that high first or not. I wonder if we had that wick SMT or not here. We had wick down there. So I just want to keep this in the journal. I'll go back and review it at some point. Just as an observation trade. Now we just go back to the higher time frame. Like, what are we getting? You know, like, how can we see this as price action for us to take something possibly after this news that comes out? So what happened? Still trading in this range here. Notice how I was talking about this morning that we can trade in this range, but there can also be setups in the lower time frames just from the intraday volatility, which is possible. And there was a setup on the 15-second. You can go down to the 5-second here to really see what happened here. We traded down, we came back up, and we closed on this 5-second inversion, and we played off this 5-second for value gap. Okay, let's even bring this up side by side with ES. And we had a lower low made here, higher low made here, shifted up, and we continued to just trade in this fair value gap. At the same time, we traded down here, creating that SMT. And then we ended up trading up towards this high into this fair value gap inefficiency. And now we're just consolidating in that inefficiency. I don't know what's going to happen. We got the news coming out. But based on a 5-second chart, that's what we're seeing here. I don't like being on the 5-second charts like that. So I'm going to continue to stay off that 5-second chart and really just focus in on this 15 minutes still. Let's actually go to the big three here. Let's take everything off the screen, because we're about to get our news to come out. I would like to see it buy up, but I don't know if that's going to happen. It could keep selling off, and that's fine. It's fine with me. Bouncing off the NWOG. All that fun stuff. So we have lower lows here, higher lows here. Lower low here. Coming into this 4-hour order block. I measure this range. We're into our deep discount, 71%. Notice how we're just coming into that discount here. So I want to pay attention to that. We can get down to this rejection block, but that's pretty deep. We're getting very close to 88% if we do that. So this news that's coming out here in about 15 seconds, we want to see if this 1 hour, notice how the 1 hour just took lower low too, but we didn't over here. But we did over here. So let's just keep paying attention. Did we take out the swing low yet? No. No, we did not yet. Yep, now we just did with the news. So we just took out that swing low, and we just barely missed or tapped this fair value gap here. Okay, now we tapped the fair value gap. Now I want to see what happens here with this price action. And that's really a lot of the reason why I don't take trades like that before the news, because things can really just start to happen. Notice the SMT at these highs here, all that fun stuff. Yeah, SMT at the lows. Now we just gotta wait. What do we get here in this price action after this news just came out? So the news came out. Just tap down into this discount again as we were before. Probably using that 5-second fair value gap again that we had over here. Yes, we're tapping that 5-second fair value gap again that we have over here. And now we were reacting off of this 5-second fair value gap. Okay, now it's just pulling back down. But I'm going to get off that 5-second. That's just too much. I just want to get the bigger picture here. So now, we just took out another low here. But we never took out this low here. Not yet, at least. So this 1 hour, we're in a deep discount. We initially started trading down in the beginning of the 1 hour. So maybe if we keep coming down lower, maybe we get a retrace later through this 1 hour before we possibly trade higher. Maybe we hit this rejection block down here. Put an alert down there just in case. We're hitting these highs. We're hitting this low now. So do we have any bullish SMT here? I don't want to get married just for the buys. I want to be open to anything. So I'm going to get this off my screen now. I just don't want it on there. So we're making lower low here. So this low, lower low, higher low, but we just tapped this low and making equal lows now. I don't like that I made equal lows because that could obviously reverse. So I still want to pay attention. I'm not huge on taking a buy within here just because of these relative equal lows. I would like to see this low taken, but then we won't have the SMT that we'd like to see. So that means I sit out. And if there is a trade set up on this lower time frame right now, then I will most likely paper trade it. We got these relative equal highs up here. Just getting down into like this time frame now. I would not want to see this 5-minute inverse. We talked about that earlier. This 5-minute inversion. We don't want to see that 5-minute inverse. So we got another 2 minutes on here. We would like to see price come back up above this 5-minute inverse as well. So come back up above it. Let's say just above that. I wouldn't mind seeing this low hit too, a little bit lower, but it doesn't need to before coming back up. Came up into this fair value gap and we're trading back lower again, which is cool. We just keep making lower lows and lower lows and lower lows. We took out that low. I'd like to see that. That's nice. We just came into this low now. I wonder if we've hit our 50% on any of these yet. So we hit our rejection block. Okay, we have 50% here on ES. Not yet on NQ. Yeah, but we need, if we're gonna buy up, we need a, I want to see an accumulation down here at this low if we're gonna buy up now. This is now, look, we got no bullish SMT anymore. And we just played off this high. Eventually I think we'll get back up there, but I don't know if that's gonna happen today. This news is just sending it lower. I wonder what it came out as. Okay, it's nothing, no big deal. Industry expansion. Okay, what a big deal. Wow. Price is coming down because industries are expanding. Alright. Okay, no SMT at the lows. Stay off this. The best traders know when not to trade, so I wasn't able to catch this, even though there was a nice little SMT buy here in the 15-second that I observed. That I wouldn't necessarily say I missed it, but I observed it. Right here, I noticed it right here, not as it formed and closed. Kind of like what might happen over here. We might get an inversion here somewhere. So we might inverse this 1 minute. If we inverse this 1 minute, that could be considered a Judas swing. So we got 3 seconds left if we inverse this or not. So we never inverse that. So we're gonna keep sitting out and observing this. Never inversed it here. 15-second was inverse, but we took out the short-term high, so it's invalid. So see, maybe one of these makes a lower low, one makes a higher low, and we get an inverse here, and that's part of the trading plan. But higher time frame, we did not hit an inverse. Well, higher time frame, we don't have SMT, which is what I mean. But this 1 hour could easily just pull back into this range here. It's Monday. Just go out of the range, poke out, and then come back in. It's possible. Okay, we just made a lower low here. Now we're about to close this inverse here. And if we close that inverse here, that's valid. Because we have the SMT. We just have everything else. But that's too far away from entry for me to want to take it. There's just something about this I don't like right now, so I'll watch it on a demo. I'll take it on a demo. I don't really care if it loses, but I don't want to take this on an eval. It just traded away way too far, and we're already so bearish. But it's very possible it does play out. If we get this 15-second inverse, it's probably likely to still go up. But just based on this 1 minute, it's not really a huge fan. Yeah, just like that. We're just so bearish on this 5 minute here. So that's something more of like I'd want to just sit out and watch. You know, we did hit liquidity, higher time frame PD array. Okay, we did do that. And we got drawn liquidity up here, and we just gotta get in sync with order flow. It's just that we just took this way too fast. If we come down and accumulate more down here within this 2020 range that we have here, just basically this buy range that I have here, if we accumulate within here, even if we take out this low, come down below it, and we create an inverse, I want to pay attention to an inverse within there. But we'll see. I'd be interested in a buy if that happens, but until then, this is just a nice long-term high, immediate-term high, short-term high to the left, and then shifted down. So it really just depends on this market structure that we're getting. We're just tapping in a 3 minute fair value gap, and this could just continue to send price lower. It's very possible. It's also possible to reverse. Yeah, see, look at that 3 minute closure. That's not a good bullish 3 minute closure at all. SMT at the wicks here. Like, we're probably gonna use this as a short at this point. We did just make a lower low. We'll see if there's 15-second inverses. It's possible that we do keep going. Notice lower low. We do have the inverse there, though. Well, the SMT short down. We're hitting that NWOG, well, NDOG that's over here. So I'm paying attention to all this. As we can see, NQ just wants to keep holding up. Let's see what happens this fair value gap now. Pay attention in here. That 30-second IFVG there. No, it's not 30-second, that's 15-second. So we'll see if we get back up above that or not. I will not be taking this on an eval. It's just not that good of a setup. Is it worth the risk to find out if we're already so bearish and we have bearish market structure right now? I would say no, personally. I would really like to see us get up above this inversion here, or come down some more and do some more accumulation with IFVGs or whatnot. Did I take a paper buy? Yeah, I'm in a paper trade, but is it high probability enough? Do I expect to lose it? Yes, I'm expecting to lose this. Honestly, I prefer it to come down lower before moving up higher, if we do go up higher, if that's even a possibility today. We're likely to get hit out here. But the reason why I'm staying in the paper buy is because notice how we keep making lower low into this discount. We're making higher lows here with internal liquidity now. I got my stop right below here. We're probably going to get hit. This is just going to be the sixth sister. But if not, then cool. I just get to observe and watch this play out. Totally no emotion with either direction it goes in. There we go. I'm out of it. So now, the reason I didn't take this on an eval is because we're obviously just so bearish. Yes, we hit our higher time frame PD array over here. We hit liquidity. We just didn't have higher time frame SMT that I like to look for. Like, we didn't have like the 1 hour SMT or anything. We just wanted to continue lower. Now we're getting that SMT. Notice how we're making the lower low here, making a higher low here. We're in the discount. We're making a higher low here. Okay, now, yes, that trade's got hit out at stop loss, but that's okay. I'm going to keep monitoring this price action and watching what we get within here. If I get an IFEG down here lower, that might be a good buy if we have SMT at these wicks now. Because we got higher time frame SMT. We got a draw on liquidity, which I would say, yes, draw on liquidity would be up here. But about to get a new 15-minute candle. I'd like to wait to see how this next 15 minutes starts to play out. Got a 4-hour low right there. Yeah, this was a loss because the higher time frame was so bearish. There was no higher time frame SMT. And the narrative was also 50-50. So there's really no clean setup with that one. This might just be a morning where I don't take anything on the eval, and that's completely fine. Let's wait and see. We're just getting very trendy right now in the downside. 4 hour. I wonder if this 4 hour wants to create a wick or not. But it's all good. Don't need to rush anything. Dude, we're still just digging deeper, deeper, deeper. Holy shit. Yeah, it's like, let's see how far this thing wants to go. Yeah, I'm probably not touching anything here for a while. Nothing's looking too hot. If we inverse this 3-minute fair value gap up here, I'd be interested in taking a buy. Especially if we get like a lower low here on, let's say, YM or ES. We have yet to do that. Yes, there's SMT in the wicks. Barely. But that's not good enough for me. It's just different if we inverse this. I want to see what happens once we get in this fair value gap here on the 3-minute. Do we just keep rejecting it and get a sell-off continuation down here? That's possible. Trick a bunch of people for going in for the buy, and then it actually just sells right back off after we hit this 3-minute gap. That's possible. It's just nothing. I'm not touching this right now. Nothing's like clean to me. Holy shit, Nvidia's ripping. Oh my god. Let's see what we're getting here now in the market. Let's see. So he's got this 2-minute inverse, but we hit this high already. Never had SMT at these lows, so it's making me think we're going to come back towards these lows at some point. We got a 15-minute inverse. We got a few minutes left in this 15. I want to see this 15-minute get inversed and keep going bearish, to be honest. The trend is your friend. I know the 1 hour opened and it instantly started coming down. But now I just want to pay attention to this 3-minute, 1 minute, 30-second. There's nothing really clean for me still. Not on any time frame. Not yet, at least. I don't even like any of the 30 seconds yet. The 4 minutes, the 5 minutes, rejection block, the 5 minutes, 4 minutes. Do this order block that we just hit on YM. Ah, man. If we're gonna keep going bearish on this, the question is, where do we go to? That's the real question. -2, -2.5. We can get down to the -4, which would be the NWOG, down below this low. I mean, that's deep, but it's best just to do 2020 here and leave a runner. A situation like this, we'd want to see this 15-minute inverse close, though. If we reject this 15-minute, it's still more likely that it is possible that we do close here, come swing down below, come back up above with some type of SMT to keep moving higher. Another 30 seconds left here. I want to see these other 15 minutes. So ES is likely to close down below that 15-minute. Rejecting this one. Nothing's clear right now. So I can't force myself to want to like really take anything because nothing's really clear. Five, 4. Okay, we closed down below the inverse on ES. And we closed below 50% on what about quartile? We closed down below 50% on NQ on the 15. So I want to keep that all in mind. I want to still see some higher price action and rejection up in this fair value gap, more SMT, if we're going to keep going bearish. If not, then I just stay out. Or if we hit the swing low on one of these, and then we get SMT to go higher, then I'll look for buys. The first part, I gotta keep in mind the first part of the hour is sold off. So the new 30 minutes is open. So if the new 30 minute trades down a little bit and we get a bullish setup, then leave a wick in the 30 minute. You just look at these. They just close so bearish though. Like this could just be a continuation. It's also a Monday where it typically consolidates, so I wouldn't be opposed to seeing it trade back into the range here. But we already had a large move, so it might not even move till afternoon, if anything. I just want to pay attention here to this price action. SMT with YM. Still not that clear to me. If we hit the swing low, I'm curious to see what happens. We're just rejecting up in here, took out the swing high. Probably got to come back to the swing low. Might be one of those days where I don't take anything. We'll see. It's possible we just short this for a value gap here. It's not one of my models though. How far down do you want to go? Yeah, it's one of those days, there's nothing here. All right, so I'm paying attention to this low now that we have down here. Still paying attention down in this level. Notice how we had the high here. We made a higher high here on YM. And now we just keep rejecting this area. Higher high of the SMT. Never had the SMT at the lows, which is making me think that we want to keep trading towards that low. So we've paid attention to this fair value gap right here. And how order flow has been respecting this fair value gap. We have a 1 minute inverse here now, but we took out the swing low. So I want to keep paying attention to what we get within this area. I'm not taking anything here. I'm not even going to paper this. I'm just going to watch to see what happens from this 1 minute fair value gap that we have there. I don't know, 15 second. So we have the high. Took out the swing high. Shifted down lower. Came back into here. Accumulating. We have a high here and lows here. We go down to a 5 second. Kind of get down. What do we see? Came up. We took out this high. Used this order block here. Shifted down. Consolidated. Traded back up above this short-term high now. Came down. All while using that 1 minute bearish SIBI we have here. So when we came up above, we got all these relative equal highs here on ES as well. Makes me think that we're going to get back up there at some point. But notice when we came up above this high here, we made a lower high there. So we instantly rejected that. Right there. And we just traded down towards that swing low that we were looking at down here. And this is all before the 1050 macro. So we're taking out that swing low now. So that just went for a 5-to-1. Now I want to pay attention to see, because now we got the SMT at these lows. Do we get to an inverse? That's the question. There's a 2 minute close like this. Let's say bearish or doji or whatever. And then the next 2 minute gives us an inverse here. That's very, very possible. But it also, if we just keep moving down like this and closing very bearish like this, I don't even want to be in it. New 5 minute open. Let's see if this wants to leave us a wick or not. Just from this standpoint, it's looking very, very bearish to me. And that 1 minute right here, really wanted it to start leaving the station. And that 1 minute fair value gap that we had up here. So 1 minute fair value gap just sent price all the way down. Very nice. There we go, let's keep falling. Took out this low now. Got a high low here. Market's just dying off. Yeah, we're getting bearish. the higher time frame now. Got this low. That could be a target here on NQ. ES could possibly come to this low now. As we keep trading bearish here on YM. Like this is obviously very bearish. Goes down below that 15-minute inversion now. So I wonder if we're going to get a retrace into here or into here. Maybe into this order block to back down. We have relative equal highs on here on ES, so I want to pay attention to that. This all made this lower low, which making me think that we're going to trade up and then back down on in. We tape read that 1 minute fair value gap up here. That acted as a resistance to send price down lower. And we gravitated towards the 30 second, the 15 second, and the 5 second to really identify that price action as we bounced off that fair value gap. And then we had a 15-second inverse right here. But I wasn't taking that inverse. It's not that high probability to me. I'd rather just wait to see some better price action. But that's not terrible setup. So just based on the SMT we saw within everything, low. Versus 15-second coming up towards these equal highs. Likely to come up into here. Possibly there's inefficiency up here as well. Kind of a boring morning, but it's mornings that need to happen. Came into a Monday expecting to stick to my plan, and the only thing I can expect is a loss, but I was expecting to stick to my plan and expecting to take a trade if there's a setup, and expecting to not take a trade if there's no setup. And today came out to be that, for me, personally, no setup. And I'm okay with that. Because I've grown my account from taking my setups. And when I see them, I'll take advantage of them. And see that. We tape read a few trades. And we paper traded one. So, tape reading. There was a buy based on the 15-second. Before the news, but it's in our 950 macro. So before the news, we had this inversion to go higher. And we had all of our confirmations, our SMT, and everything like that. So did we make our 20 points? Briefly, let's see, right here on the close. Yes, we made our 20 points. And then it ended up reversing with the news that came out. And then we looked to take a buy based on, it was a 1 minute inversion that ended up failing right here. And it failed because the higher time frame is so bearish. It could have flipped around, but we didn't have higher time frame SMT anymore. So it's best to wait in something like that. And plus, we really dug up higher into this 30-second inefficiency and this 15-second inefficiency. So it's best to really wait on something like that and not try to force anything. Now, if I was to take a position, what would I need to see? I would need to see this inverse, preferably here on the 5 minute with SMT. As of right now, we don't have SMT at the lows. We have SMT in the higher time frame. So lower low, higher low. We're in a rejection block. We hit this opening range gap over here. So we're sitting pretty good in my opinion. If we do want to get some SMT, but I would like to see this low taken possibly here. So if I was to take a long, I'd want to see this low. Highest probability would be this low taken here with SMT with some type of an accumulation to target this high. This high here. But until then, I don't want to take anything. Or if we get up into this order block, more SMT here. Maybe ES takes out the high. This stays down here with SMT. We get a shift. Entry to go lower. That's really what I'd like to see. But until then, I don't want to take anything. It's not worth it. I'd rather just preserve my mental capital and my account's capital. So that's more important to me. Pretty light week with news too. Hey man, what's up? What's going on? Just trading here. Just looking at the NASDAQ market. was really looking for a potential reversal to go for the buy, but we never actually got that to happen. So I haven't taken anything on my eval account today. So I came in today realizing that it's Monday. There could be a trade set up. There might not be. We could just consolidate in this higher time frame range that we're in. Now, since we just took out this high on Monday, we can consolidate in this range. But we didn't. We obviously just sold off. And the catalyst for that was when the news came out, we just instantly started selling off. And I was watching to see if we were going to get a reversal within here, but we never got that reversal. And I was also looking to see in this area, we had a 1 minute fair value gap that actually sent it lower. And I was breaking it down here on the 30 second, 15 second, and also down to the 5 second. We don't need those time frames, but it gave like a setup to short back down lower into this deeper range. Yeah, I do trade the 4 hour in the 1 day. Yep. So I basically I use all the time frames, but I don't place trades based on 4 hours in 1 day. Is that what you do? Do you place trades based on that? Or do you like go down to like lower time frames, like 15 minute, 5 minute, like 3 minute, 2 minute, 1 minute? But I use all time frames basically to get my analysis in. Oh, 5 minutes stressful. Yeah, it can be. It can be. And it's really like your style of trading. Yeah, it's your style of trading, whatever works best for you. The reason I go down to like such lower time frames is because like on the higher time frame, if I have enough information, I want to go down and like define my entries. Because on NQ, I don't like risking more than 20 points, and 20 points on a 4 hour for me is like nearly impossible. Because like I'm not saying this is a buy, but if it was, you'd want to have your stop down below this swing low. And that's 118 points, and 20 points for me, one contract is $400. So I'm usually looking to risk 400 to make 400, but I'm only using one contract right now. So I do like a 1-to-1, but most of the trades I have go for like a 3-to-1 or like a 2-to-1. But a 1-to-1 with a 75 to like 80% win rate is pretty good in my opinion for a 1-to-1. So that's typically how I like to trade it. I'll go down in the 4 hour. So like let's say I have my 4 hour. This is usually what I do. So I have this 4 hour fair value gap here, and I'll mark it up as like these black lines, this black box, and then I'll see how it acts on these lower time frames. Let's say like a 5 minute as like a support or resistance level. So here's an example where it came up to the high of this black box, and we use this as a rejection to get up into this area back to this 830 level. So I was looking at this. I was actually just tape reading this buy right here. I was watching this buy as it happened based on like it was actually a 15-second inversion that I use. So I was looking at that, and that all just pairs together, and that's how I use the 4 hour. But the daily time frame, I'm looking at the whole overall bias. Like, where are we? What's the narrative of price? So like a pattern can set up on a 5 minute or a 1 minute, whatever, but it doesn't matter the pattern to me. It's the overall higher time frame narrative. So what is that? It's like I'm looking down on the daily. We traded up. We created this swing low here in this fair value gap, and we shifted up higher with these bullish volume imbalances. And now we have this swing high up here that we could possibly reach in the higher time frame. But on the 4 hour, we have all these internal highs here, and we hit that internal high. We can either expect consolidation, a pullback, or some type of SMT to give us a continuation up towards this high, back up to this high. So we had our pullback here, and I was waiting for that news to come out to see what price really wanted to do, and obviously wanted to sell off. So now I'm just trying to look for something I'm familiar with, okay? And based on trades I take, this is really what I look for. I look for lower time frames. Here's the 15-minute low that we took, and then we shifted up above. And this fair value gap here, once we got a 1 minute closure up above that, I took the buy. I'm just looking for 20 points. So I risk 400, make 400. That's really all I'm looking for. Obviously, this could have went for more, like a $1,200 plus win, but just based on my statistics and growing my account, that's really like what I've been focusing on. What is right there. And like here's just some more examples of it working out. And obviously the higher time frame all comes together. But that's really what I'm looking for. So I want to go over like what we're seeing now in the chart, because we just hit our 1050 macro a little while ago. So I want to see what we're getting here. So I'll go through like a bunch of different time frames to really see where we are in the bigger picture. And I take everything off the chart. So we have this low being made, but we have a higher low here. So higher low, then a lower low here. And we're hitting this order block, so we're in a discount. And on the higher time frame on the daily, we were hitting that daily volume imbalance here on NQ. So I look at all of them, but I'm really focusing in on NQ. That's what I like to trade. So now we have this low made, this low made. So they all made the same low here on the 5 minute is what I'm paying attention to. So made low, low, and low. And now this one's actually making a lower low here on this 5 minute. We're making a higher low here on this wick. So that's telling me that buyers are stepping in on NQ, but they're selling off here to create that divergence, because smart money might be ready to start loading up and then setting it up above this high and above these relative equal highs here on ES as well. Might be a little bit confusing, but I'm really just, the bottom line is I'm just looking for a lower low on one and a higher low on the others. And where's the money at? That's really all it is. I see a bunch of money sitting up here on ES, bunch of equal highs, and now I'm just trying to get in sync with order flow. So I don't like how this is like setting up right now. So we have a lot going on. We have a lot of trendline liquidity here that we've just basically taken out from this. But now we also have a ton of trendline liquidity here. So now I want to see what we get up in this area paired up with this breaker here. So draw this down close candle out. And if we get something within here, some type of inversion, I'll short this down to this low, first 20 points, and go for 20 points. So that's really like what I'm looking for. It's pretty simple. Pretty simple plan. I mean, it might sound complicated, but if you see it a few times, it's really not that bad. It's like, let me get an example. Yeah, just forget this is like a 15-second. But we had SMT at the lows. So this made a lower low, and the other ones made a higher low here. But then once that happened, we have this swing high. And we also have this 15-second inversion. As soon as we close that can be an entry to target up to this swing high, target up into this fair value gap inefficiency. So we have SMT, we had liquidity taken, okay, and we hit a higher time frame PD array. So it's simple: liquidity, higher time frame PD array, and then you got to get in sync with order flow, which is the inversion and then the draw on liquidity up there. This is pretty simple. That's just how I look at price, and over and over and over again. And like the notebook I just showed you a little while ago, that just a bunch of examples of it playing out over and over and over again. And I haven't really seen that here. You know, like the only thing I really saw was this short that happened. So like we traded down lower, we came back into this fair value gap, and we hit this high here, and then we made a lower high on NQ. We made a higher high here on YM, and then we shifted lower, broke the structure back down with a 1 minute fair value gap right here. And with that 1 minute fair value gap, that should send price down back lower, down below this low, and possibly lower, because we never had any SMT here. See how we made a higher high here? Higher high, higher high, higher high. So those all made higher highs. and that means that we're likely to continue the trend down. And notice how we have a lower low, a lower low, and then a lower low. And like this candle never came down to take out this low here when this made a higher low. So I'm thinking that we get up into this area here and possibly even get up here on ES, and then we just shift down, and then we come back down towards this low in a little bit. So SMT is a smart money technique. That's what ICT likes to call it. So look at these highs here. Let's go to the, I know you like 4 hour, you said. Look at all three of them. Look at all three. So look at this. So we made a higher high here. So we're going up, up, up. But notice how we made a lower high here. So we made a lower high here. So NQ made a lower high, but it took out internal liquidity. But we made a higher high here. See that? So this is a higher high right there. Over here is a lower high. Okay? So now, that could be indicating if we get market structure to show it wants to go short, then we could possibly go short. And what really happened this morning was an accumulation. We took out the internal buy side from these highs. And what do we have here? A lot of vehicle lows. A lot of liquidity. Came back up, shifted down lower, and then it just took out all that liquidity. So the SMT kind of really gave it away. You know? Go down to a 1 minute time frame. There's even more setups on the lower time frames. This is what I really like to take. Notice this. Notice how we made equal highs up here on ES, but over here on NQ we made a higher high, and then we shifted lower again, use this order block to then target all these equal lows that are down here and then down here. So I just use SMT a lot. That's like one of the biggest things in my trading plan. So that's what I look for. Smart money technique. Yeah, and right now I'm not really seeing much happen. Yeah, so I'm really just waiting. Like right now, this is like the nature of trading. It's usually I take my trade by now if there is a trade set up. Like for example, let's pull over one of my winning trades from last week. Just took this buy. I believe this was around like 10:30. Took the buy right here and shifted up. So consolidated, just really tape reading price. Watching it, we took out the low. Now let's look for the equal highs to be taken, which they got taken. Similar situation here. Let's see. This one's a little bit harder to read, but we closed up above this inversion after taking out the low. At SMT at the lows here. And consolidated, shifted back up, came up above, and then just continued on up. That one's not really a great example, but let's find another one. Yeah, this is like really, this is very clean. Lower lows, 1, 2, 3. Higher low here. Make the higher low. We shifted up above this fair value gap. We close up above it. That's indication to get in. Risk 20 points. Make 20 points. Boom. Bunch of examples of it. So that's really all I'm looking for. And right now I'm not really seeing that. Like we're making lower low. I do expect this high to be made here, but if it hits this high and I'm not in it, I'm completely fine with it because my plan isn't telling me to get in yet. That's really like the nature of trading. You got to be okay, like expecting price to happen and not being in it. That's It's really the nature of it. I also have this, like sometimes my trade is a loss, even if my bias is right. I'm okay with being told that I am wrong, even if I'm right. So like, let's say I took the buy, let's say it was a loss or whatever. It's okay that the market tells you that you're wrong. Okay? And then you can't have hindsight bias because the 10 o'clock, like I'll use me as an example. The 10 o'clock atom has less information than the 4 o'clock atom. So knowing that you have less information, you got to be okay, and you took advantage of whatever information you had at that moment. So hindsight, you can't give yourself like, oh, I should have taken that, I should have done this. No. It's like, okay, that's what happened. I'm going to learn from it, and this is something I'll consider adding to my trading plan. And if it was part of your trading plan and you missed it, it obviously wasn't obvious in the time, so you can't be mad at yourself. And you got to focus. Were you in your A game, B game, or C game? And were you focused or were you not focused? How would I trade these pairs in the 4 hour? Oh, man. I would look, honestly, I would really look if I was to trade these on the 4 hour. I love trading like inversion fair value gaps. So let me just stay on this 4 hour here. I would really mark up my premium and my discounts. So I would trade something like this. I would notice that we have over here on ES, we have our swing low and our swing high. I'd mark this up. And every time we come into our discount, which would be this, I would watch to look for an inversion shift. And we don't actually get that until we're above here. But I want to pay attention to this as well. So you got this, let's say this swing low to this swing high. We hit the 50% here. And notice the SMT we got. We have this low here, a higher low. We have this low here, a lower low. It just makes sense. See how it's going up? This is going down. We're both in a discount below the 50%. Okay? And what do I see up here at the highs? I see these equal highs up here, and I see this high up here. We're overall bullish. We have this new range with this discount. And what do we have? We have a 4 hour fair value gap. So if I was looking at price, so there's a 4 hour fair value gap. If I was looking at price here, and price was right here, I would look at this inversion, because I trade inversion models. And that's really when the fair value gap gets closed up above the other one or below it, like I was just showing you on the 1 minute. But I would, if I was looking here at 10 o'clock, and this is all I saw, I would wait and have this alerted, and I'd watch these 4 hour candles when they close. And if we get up a closure up above that, which this didn't even close until like London session. So we closed up above it there. This is where I'd be looking to take a buy. Right here as soon as that closed, or set a limit at the high of this fair value gap, either or. And I would be waiting to see if this would continue up. As long as we don't get a closure back down below this, I would keep this trade open. But you'd really have to do a lot of back testing, because I don't trade the 4 hour. But this is how I would trade it. Enter there, and I'd be targeting this high here and potentially higher up there. But in the short term, I'd just be looking for something like this. Obviously, the next few 4 hour candles sent it up into that area. So I would just be paying attention to that. Yeah, that's how I would do it. I want to continue to see what we're getting here in price. We're about to hit that high, like I was saying. We close this. Notice how this 5 minute closed this inversion, the same thing I was just talking about right here. We just closed that inversion right there. Let's see if it hits this high. We just hit that high right now. So I doubt it's going to keep going higher. Actually, I don't want to say I doubt that. I don't know what's going to happen right now. It just did not give me the setup I wanted to see to take this trade. So I just observed this trade here. Even on the 3 minute, we closed up above the 3 minute here, and then we ended up ripping up towards that high there. So we're going to see how this plays out now. Does this want to, let's say we go to these two here. Like, does this want to stay down below here, shift up, and then give us something like this, and then we trade down towards this low again, and then possibly lower? Because you got to pay attention. Look what we got now. We got a higher high here, and we have a lower high here now. That could give us a setup to keep sending lower if we are bearish. So if the narrative is still bearish, so we go to the 15 minute, we go to the 30 minute, we look at the 30 minute, we got this fair value gap here. Notice how we hit this fair value gap here, but we never hit the fair value gap here on NQ either. So that could be a sign that we do shift lower because we do have this internal liquidity here. So we got to keep paying attention. What do we get here? Do we shift up above and keep closing up above these 15 minutes, or does it actually show signs of going down lower? If it shows signs of going down lower, I'm going to short it. If it closes up above this 15 minute and shows signs of bullishness with more SMT at the lows, possibly internal SMT here, where like this makes a consolidation, this makes a low, but this one makes a higher low in the consolidation, and maybe we continue to target up towards this high, these relative equal highs. If it does that, I'll take the buy. But if it just keeps showing a bearish accumulation with bearish SMT in here on the consolidation, I want to look towards this low and this low. That's really how I trade. It's one or the other. And a lot of the time, I wouldn't say a lot of the time, but there are times it's 50-50. Like right now, I think it's 50-50. We took out this swing high. We're already bearish. Does it want to go lower, or does it want to consolidate as this goes higher to give us bullish SMT to keep going higher? So that's really what I'm looking for. Yeah. Hope that answers your question between everything I'm looking for. So I can probably find another example here on the 4 hour for you. There's NAS and S&P. So let me... Yeah, because I trade the contracts. The futures contracts. I just like them because they're a little bit more precise. They're more algorithmic. Assuming this is what you're looking at, and then NAS. So you can kind of see, same thing here. I don't know if this answers like your question at all, but let me find a good example. Here we go. You can obviously tell we're bullish here, and NAS is making a lower low, and an S&P is making a higher low here, and then we're shifting up higher to go towards this high and possibly higher. So I don't know. Does NAS and S&P always trade in different direction with higher high and higher low? Not always. It doesn't always do it, but that's a signal for me when I want to get in. Notice here too, like we're obviously bullish. We're trading into this discount. Notice how we make a lower low here, but look how we make a higher low here, and we trade back up. We just continue this trend. And like, if you're trading 4 hour right now, I don't really see any difference here. So like I wouldn't be touching this if I'm trading just 4 hour. I'd be scaling down and seeing what we're getting on the lower time frame. I hope that answers your question. If you need to, like, go through like ICT's concepts on this 2022 mentorship on his YouTube. He's got a lot of good information on there that could probably help you out. So I studied a lot of ICT. Now I'm studying a lot on psychology. So I do a lot of like trading psychology now, which is a lot of this, using these logics for my mental game. So I focus on psychology now. I don't even care about learning new concepts. I know what works for me and what's made me profitable. Now it's just focusing on the awesome. You're welcome. Yeah, I just focus now on like the psychology part of everything at this point. Basically, I learned everything from ICT, and now I'm just applying his concepts, but on psychology. Psychology is just the most important thing, in my opinion, at this point. I'm not taking this, but I'm just monitoring what we're getting, because we took out this high now. It's against my rules to try to take a buy here to get up towards this high. Okay? Now it's against my rules. I've lost too much doing that, so now I know I got to sit out. And now it's after. I usually don't trade right now. It's 11:19. I usually try not to take trades after like 11:15, especially if it's not an A+ setup, which this is not A+. But notice how we're making on this wick here a higher low, and right here we're making a lower low, and we closed up above this inversion here. There's a 3-minute inversion for value gap. We closed up above this here, so that candle closed it. This one was indecisive. This next one came down, but this one made a higher high. Go down to the 1 minute. I'm looking at this price action here. Once we shifted down, this low shouldn't be broken. We shift up again, and now we're using this order block here to bounce price off this order block to reach towards this high that we have here. And then we also have an inefficiency for value gap up here that we could possibly reach to as well. So I'll make that red. Go down to a 30-second. I'm not trading this just because, like I said, it's against my rules, but I'm just showing you what I'm seeing here in the market. Trend lines and patterns. I mean, it's up to you and what you've back tested. I think any strategy can work. I just really understand this algorithmic price action from ICT, and I think trend lines are, like, obviously if you're trading trend lines, obviously this trend line's working, but how do you know this one isn't gonna sell off first and then continue working up? Whereas, like, I wait for liquidity to be taken for something like that. And, like, how do you know, like, question is, like, how do you know that this isn't going to keep buying up to take out these highs first and then shift down lower to take out this trend line? Like, I'd rather use that to target liquidity. So, like, that's what I do. That's typically how I trade. So let me go over to Friday when I took this buy. My buy was right here. I took the buy right here. So we have this forming here. This pattern, whatever you want to call it. I don't really care what you call it. But I was waiting in this consolidation for a really good setup, and nothing was forming. We came up to this high, faked a lot of people out. I used to want to buy this order block to take up to this high, but I don't do that anymore. But then I was waiting for one of these sides to be taken. This side got taken. And I'm like, okay, now we swept all these lows. We took out all that trendline liquidity. A lot of people are thinking this is a breakout, retest, and sell off. Where I'm waiting for my inversion. So we close up above this 1 minute, and then I took the long to take out the other side. So I took out the low, now I took out the high. So, I mean, if something works for you, cool. Like, I see this as a trend line here of some sort, and I see the low taken, and then this inversion here, close it, and then smoke up towards this high, and then up to the NFP highs here from NFP news. So like that's how I see it. Trend line, I don't know. I just think you can draw it in so many different ways. Like I could draw a trend line like this. I could just use the bodies like this. Like, why did that fail? Oh, I don't know. Like, obviously traded into a discount. We had the SMT I was showing you earlier, and then it wanted to shift up because all the money's up here. So, I mean, we do have a huge daily trend line now. And if we look at this daily trend line, like, how do you know it's like this trend line here? It just broke it and then it continued higher. And it's just, they don't work in my opinion. Like now you have this. How do you know? Like, why didn't it come down to the trend line here and then bounce off? Why did it just stop here? Like, I don't know. I don't understand that personally. I understand that we traded into a discount in this fair value gap on the daily, and then we shifted up because there's more liquidity higher. That's why I understand that. And then we had SMT at the lows. That's why we moved up. It's not because of a trend line. I don't know. I'm just learning from ICT, which he's got 30 years of experience, and he's proven himself that he's multi-millionaire. So, and like his concepts work for me and they work for other people. So that's all I really care about. If something works for somebody else, like I know people that trade like supply and demand and it works like really good for them. Personally, I don't trade like that. Like I know how I like to trade, and that's how I'm going to stick with it. So what about, like, I got to ask myself now, like, what are we seeing here in the market? Like I said, we have the SMT at the highs. I have this higher high here, lower high, and now we have this 5-minute fair value gap after taking up this high. So I want to see, what does price do in the next, I'd say 30 minutes? Do we come down below this low and give us some type of SMT now within here in the lower time frame? Because we got the SMT here. Now do we get it within here? Like, does this pull back, give us a lower high here, and we make a, let's say we make a higher high here? That could be a good indication that we do sell off if we inverse this 5-minute, or we get a closure down below it. So I want to pay attention to that. If all that stuff lines up, we could look for this short to happen between, it would have to be between, it would have to be between 1150 and then 1210. But I'm about to hop off the charts. I don't trade this time. But this is when it would have to set up between them. So 1150 and then 1210. And then we just had like the whole lunch hour, all 12 o'clock. So that's when the trade would have to set up if it was going to go short, in my opinion. So yeah, it's really stressful, being comfortable, relaxed. Yeah, I mean, it's your personality on like whatever time frame you like to be on. It's like whatever works for you. If you think the lower time frames are stressful, then I would, if I were you, I'd stick to the higher time frames. Like I see how they're stressful. The 30-second used to be very stressful for me, but I figured out why it was stressful, and I was more comfortable in the 3-minute than the 30-second, which I still am. But I can define my setups more on these lower time frames if I know what I'm looking for on the 3-minute. If that makes any sense. Notice how I was just saying I need to see this on the 5-minute, but if we get everything else lining up here in the 5-minute, I'll go down to the 1-minute and 30-second. That just helps me out. And I mean, stress can be an emotion, and that emotion, you got to figure out like what even causes that emotion. Like the book, The Mental Game of Trading, is what all these like mental logics are from here. And like I do like a mental review, my A game, my B game, my C game. So like if I'm focused with audio, which is the audio you hear in the background, and I'm energized, and I'm versus my C game where I have no focus, multitasking, very tired, letting emotions get to me, but I have a clear understanding of my emotions. Like, yes, the 30-second can really get to me, but why? Like, what causes the lower time frames to really get to me? Like, you got to ask yourself the question and map it. You know, maybe you think it's overwhelming, that there's so much information you don't know what to do with. Okay. And stress is just meaning you don't have all the information or whatever. Like, if your trading plan works in the 4 hour and daily, go for it. That's awesome. But you're going to be waiting a lot longer than like on the 5 minute, 1 minute, 2 minute. Like I strictly trade from, I'm on the charts, I don't know, like 8:45, but I don't like to take a trade until 9:45. So let's say 9:45 to like 11:15. I'm not sitting here waiting for the 4 hour, the 1 hour to close all throughout the whole day. And then I'll trade in the afternoon sometimes. It depends. Like sometimes it's 1:30 to like 4 o'clock. Sometimes it's only 2 to 3. Sometimes I just don't trade at all. If I won in the morning, I'm probably not going to trade the PM. And if I do, it's got to be like an A+ setup. It really depends on my day with like my other business that I run. So it really depends on that. But yeah, it's like if you want to get to the lower time frames at some point, just I would say stick to learning on what you could get out of lower time frames. The book, The Mental Game of Trading, this guy, there's an example where he was always on the 5 minute chart and he was taking losses, and his issue was that he wasn't going down to a low enough time frame to really determine his market structure shift. Like, it might look good on a 5 minute, but on the 1 minute, he didn't get the shift that he needed. So what he needed to do was change his trading plan to focus more on the lower time frames to understand that market structure shift. So he knows what the 5 minute looks like, but he needs to also know what the 1 minute looks like. You know? So here's an example here. I'll show this. This was post FOMC. This is what the 9 minute looked like for me. So higher high, lower high. And then I go down to a 30-second time frame. So we made the high. We had that higher high here, but a lower high on it was YM, but it's also US 30. We shifted down, came up into the fair value gap. We shifted down again, and we inversed the 30-second fair value gap that was right here. And then I entered the short, targeting the 20 points, which is really just this risk here. I wouldn't be able to see this if I was just looking at a 9 minute. And the 9 minute had too much risk. If I was to take the sell here and it came back up, that would be like a 50 to 60 point risk, and I'm not looking to risk $1,200 on a 50 grand account. So that's just really like why I use lower time frames. And I used to, and then I got away from lower time frames, and now I'm back to really understanding them, and my order flow and psychology has really helped me get to the lower time frames. So it's really about like what's your trading plan and what works best for you. Like if something's not working, then I don't want to say like change your strategy, because like changing your strategy all the time isn't the best thing, but sometimes it can be. I used to just trade order blocks and breakers, but now I strictly trade SMT and inversion fair value gaps. That's what I trade now, and I stick to my trading plan. So yeah, and like right now it's outside of my day to trade. It's outside of my time, but this is the account I've been trying to grow here. Started at 50, it's at 52. It's another eval account on Top Step. So I'm like $960 away from passing this one. So I'm taking it little by little. But no trades on it today, because there was no setup. I sat here the whole time with no setup. Yeah, if you got any more questions for me, let me know. I'm about to hop off, though. I'm about to go make some lunch because, like I said, I don't trade really this time. But I'll watch the chart in this macro that we have, the 1150 to 1210. And then I'll just watch it from my phone. I'm not going to take anything on the eval. It's against my rules, too. So I'll just tape read it. Like if it gives me a setup and it shorts down, cool. Awesome, I was right. But if it comes up and it sells down or whatever, consolidate more, I don't know. Maybe we get a buy or a short later today. Maybe we trade back up into the range. But we'll see. We'll see. All right. I'm going to go and I'll see you later. Peace out. Wait. Oh, I see that. I see you said something. How much risk? A little less than 1%. So 1% is 500, but I'm risking 400. That's all I'm really risking. And yeah, this is it right here. Really just risking $400 a trade. So like sticking to the trading plan. These 2 days is when I got out of, like, I was like trying to pass the account this day here. I was like, oh, I can just pass the account, and then straight away from the plan. And then it's like, okay, now I got to get back to the plan. So sticking with the plan. When I stick to the plan, I'm obviously just bullish. Good little trend line going up on the equity curve here. So that's all I'm working for. Sticking to the rules. That's the end of the day. If I lose and I stuck to my rules, it's a win. But if I win but I broke my rules, then it's basically a mental loss in the day. Yeah, this thing's just ripping now. Notice this here. Let's go with the 5 minute. Notice how we made a lower low here in the 5 minute now, and then a higher low here. And we came back up above. And like, I wasn't trading this because we already took out the swing high, but it's obviously going bullish. Notice how we closed this 1 minute inversion here. On ES, we closed that inversion, and then we just went up towards that high. So we shouldn't, after we close that inversion, we shouldn't close back down below it. But that's like a setup right here. And it's likely to go up towards this swing high now. Even on a 30-second here. Notice this. We made a lower low here and a higher low here on top of that higher time frame SMT. We had a 30-second inverse here. So you can trade that 30-second inverse. I wasn't paying attention there, but there you go, 2020. Risk 400. You wouldn't even need to risk 400. You risk 14 points. That would have been a $400 profit right there. Not financial advice, but like, Jesus. That's looking good. So yeah, that's really it in a nutshell right there. So here was the target, drawing liquidity, sync with order flow, SMT, boom. But I wasn't fully searching for a trade because it's not my time frame to trade it. So yeah, that's that was it right there. Just that right there. That could have been I don't know, you could have risked. So that would be about a $300 risk for 400, or you could do a $600 risk for 800. So, and this is like 80% win rate or something like this. But yeah, that's nice. All right, I'm gonna go and see you later. Talk to you later. Bye.